Hello and a warm welcome into the show. I'm Carson Scott. Coming up tonight, despite talk of the market slowing, the recent realestate.com.au demand index finding demand for property continues to increase around the country. Question being, will the latest government housing reforms make property more accessible to first home buyers, or will it simply drive up the price in that very same said bracket? How indeed is virtual reality changing the way consumers and real estate agents buy and sell property? All questions we're going to get to the bottom of with my guest tonight, alongside Derek Taylor, Sales Manager at realestate.com.au. Derek, first time on the show, so a warm welcome to you in particular. Just give us a sense on your background, your role indeed as currently defined at realestate.com.au.
Thank you, and absolutely delighted to be on the show tonight. I've been in the media industry now for almost 20 years, with the majority of that time across print and digital media, and with the majority of that time across real estate. So I've got a really good understanding in terms of advertising and marketing from a real estate perspective.
Well, as always, the hot topic to start things rolling, what people have been reading online at realestate.com.au recently. So let's kick it off with a celeb lowdown, if you like, to paraphrase on that. Franklin House before and after. This is incredible.
Yeah, and you know, celebrities generally attract quite a lot of interest, but this particular property from Buddy and Jacinta Franklin, and they've got a beautiful property in Rose Bay. I think they purchased it back in 2014, but they've gone for that celebrity makeover. And originally it was a beautiful sort of creamy colour with some you know, white trim, but they've gone for something quite unique, which is, you know, very much a charcoal type colour. And
that was before there.
Yeah, that's before. And so the cream with the white trimmings, and then the charcoal is what they've finished up with. Now, I'm not sure what they were thinking, but without doubt, it's definitely attracted a lot of attention on realestate.com.au. And in fact, it's actually one of our most highly read articles across the last 3 or 4 months. And not sure what they're thinking. I'm a big fan of each to their own, but I think if they do decide perhaps one day to resell, they might want to consider giving it a bit of a fresh coat, just so that they could possibly appeal to a bit more of a broader audience.
I'm amazed they didn't go with black shutters. I mean, you might as well, if you're on a roll, why not just go the whole hog, right?
Yeah, no, I think they just need a little bit of contrast there, and that's what's missing.
Fair enough too. Look, we talked at the top there about demand maybe slackening off, but you know, you're begging to differ from current stats. So what is the kind of giveaway versus the conjecture out there? Yeah,
no, with our latest property demand index, which came out in May, it obviously indicates still a very high level of demand out across the nation, in particular Sydney, Melbourne and Tasmania. And I think it just goes to show that the great Australian dream of owning your own property is still very much alive and well, even in Australia's most expensive city being Sydney. You know, if we have a look at in terms of New South Wales and the 10 most demanded suburbs in New South Wales, Wollongong features quite strongly with three in the top 10, and being Farnborough Heights, Unanderra and West Wollongong. But also the Northern Beaches also features quite strongly in terms of our top 10 most demand, in particular Narraweena, Allambie Heights and North Bagola. So I think, you know, very much beach and being close to the water is still very important when purchasing property.
We might bring into play as well Charles Tarby from Century 21, you know, just to kind of add some, to buttress it to an extent, just what you've been saying, Derek. So Charles, welcoming you into the show from our Sydney CBD studio. Just sort of talk to what you're observing. I mean, here we are in New South Wales, just extrapolate, because even we got today values nationwide. There's a big discrepancy, is there not, between, you know, different markets as always?
Yes, hello. I didn't get all of that question, but there is a discrepancy with regards to prices across all regions across the country, so it's all very strange at the moment.
Well, what are you seeing when it comes to a slowdown based on price? You know, they talk of demand destruction in many different spheres, but if we apply it into the realm of bricks and mortar, are things getting too hot to handle still? Are we needing to see a fair degree of additional moderation, Charles, at this point in time, or how is it all being met? I mean, wages are not going anywhere.
No,
we know
I
this,
see-
so
see
something's
from the
still coming.
surprised look I had on my face because I wasn't ready for you. That's probably the same look I should have when it comes to the marketplace. You see, the prices going down has changed already because the market itself has increased across the country by 1.1% over June. So, you know, still things are still on the move, and the clearance rates are still very, very strong. I think what it is that the frenzy has come out of the market. There's still people wanting to buy, and if there's only one person turns up at an auction and they want to bid, they can bid and they'll buy. That's all you need to make it happen.
Okay. Let's talk to this idea of new housing reforms, and Derek, come in on this as well, because we've seen now Victoria making a move, New South Wales following suit. The fund, from a New South Wales perspective, Derek, is this going to make things more accessible to first home buyers? Do you see it as really unlocking that particular hitherto sort of, well, stymied market segment?
Without doubt, and I'm a big fan of any reform that can help first home buyers get in the market sooner rather than later, or be on a more level playing field. And I think these reforms, we're already starting to see some positive outcomes. And talking to a number of agents after the weekend's results, there were numerous first home buyers either being involved or actively being involved in auctions or being part of open for inspection. So we're already starting to see, you know, those reforms kicking in.
And supply, Charles, you know, we're seeing still plenty of cranes on the skyline. Is that matching what the market's demanding, or is it still kind of only one part of the story, and the detached homes very much augment that and are here to stay in spite of what we hear about everyone shifting and wanting to downsize?
No, I think the issue with housing supply is still not meeting the real demand that we have in most of the capital cities, because the supply line has been down for the last 3 to 4 weeks, each week in a row, and that's not uncommon for a winter marketplace. But what we haven't seen, which we didn't see in the last 4 or 5 years, is a real estate winter, where all of a sudden that supply line is down, but also so is the demand. So I don't know that anybody can really pick an outcome other than to say a stable market is where we seem to be heading, and it's somewhere we should have gone some time ago. Now, talk of interest rate increases is going to also create havoc in that arena, because people are going to be terrified about their mortgages going from 4 to possibly 6, which is a significant increase. So I think all in all, we're getting the dampening that we wanted to get some time ago. The first home grant that's on offer there that came out of Victoria and New South Wales, no doubt will be offered in other capital cities, but the reality is that there's a backlog of buyers there that were sitting in June not doing anything, waiting for that to occur. So that spike we might have just seen in the last week is really just a levelling out from June to July.
Not only that, but the median price, Derek, in New South Wales is currently rates, what, 48, 80,000? So the first home buyer's grant, it doesn't really begin if you're talking about two newlyweds. I mean, what is that going to do to really unlock accessibility?
No, well, look, I had a little bit of a look on the site before I came on this evening's shows, and in terms of properties under 800 or 60,000, you know, the suburbs to keep an eye out for are around Granville, Layla Park, Blacktown, Ashcroft, Auburn, Bass Hill and Guildford. So there's still plenty of opportunities out there. And I think these reforms are, you know, just come at an ideal time for first home buyers.
You're welcome. All right, fair enough. Well, what about the renters, Charles, in this whole story now, this tussle between do we take the plunge or are we better off just paying someone else but still having that flexibility?
Yeah. Well, look, vacancy rates are a big issue still in most capital cities. We had a performance in Melbourne which has been outperforming Sydney. Their vacancy rate was 1.28% last week. That's really low. Sydney only came in at 1.48%. Again, that's really low, but the one that we always have been watching is Perth at 8.37, because that's an issue over there with regards to supply and, of course, with regards to the economy there. I think if your vacancy rate is staying this low, there's going to be more pressure on them if the home buyers don't get out there and buy. So a lot of the first-home buyers bumping out, I think it's a good time for them right now. That may ease the pressure on vacancy rates, but at this point in time, there's really no change. There's still a lot of tough times there for tenants, particularly in Sydney and Melbourne.
So what advice, naturally, do you give at that juncture for people looking for a rental property?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
What advice for those
Oh, I'm
people
sorry,
out
yeah.
there looking? Yeah.
Look, again, we've always been giving advice to people that want to buy that can't buy to make sure that they rent where they want to live, because quite often that's closer to work or better for them, and buy where they can afford. I think Carson and a lot of those areas are still available, whether you're looking in the north parts of Sydney or the southern parts of Melbourne or the southern parts and northern parts of Brisbane. There's still some exceptional buyers. They may not want to live there, but they're certainly going to get themselves into the marketplace and get some capital growth. They don't want to be buying in areas where they've got high rental return that covers their rent in a capital city, because they're not going to get any capital gain. It's just a pointless exercise.
Derek, your perspective?
Yeah, look, and I've been a renter before, so the two pieces of advice I'd give renters and for viewers on the show is, one is first set up a My REA profile. And this is not just for renters, this is for sellers. And the great thing about setting up your own customised profile is that as you like properties or rentals that you're very interested in, they'll be saved in your profile. And the moment an agent makes any changes to that property in terms of photos, information, pricing, or even open for inspections, you'll be notified in real time. So you're just keeping ahead of the game. The other thing is make sure you complete your OneForm application. So OneForm is an online tenancy application. It's all about making the job of the property manager as easy as possible. Have your OneForm application completed, all the information in terms of personal information, financial information, referees, and that will put you ahead of the game, because basically the moment you go and inspect a property, you can walk out of that property and you can apply for it online via OneForm and realestate.com.au and put yourself ahead of the game. The other thing is that I'd recommend is give some thought to your utilities connections at the same time, because moving can be sometimes an incredibly stressful process, and the last thing you want to be doing on the day you're moving is worried about whether you got your electricity connected, your gas, your Foxtel, your internet. You can tick that as a part of your OneForm application. We'll have all that connected for you the day you move in. We can even disconnect your utilities at your previous premises. Make sure your referees are all prepared so that they know they're going to get a phone call from the agent possibly. Have the deposit ready to go as well. So you're all organised before you actually go to the inspection.
I'm getting sweaty palms just thinking of the process. Anyway, but it comes to us all. Charles, back on you. You were on a roll with some charts. So let's just pick up where you left off, because we've got now the homes advertised for sale rundown there, and then let's sort of keep on the theme of what you've scooped up this week.
Yeah, I think the charts again are showing not a lot of change in that area, and again, with winter upon us, that's usually what happens with homes advertised for sale. But Carson, there are areas across Australia that have an oversupply of stock. So yeah, these sorts of charts really show an average, but when they show an average of negative 0.39, I can assure you there are areas across parts of Australia that have got a massive supply of stock coming through. So it just depends where you want to buy. Some areas you're seeing right now, we were talking about Perth earlier on, that's an area where a lot of people are wanting to sell, and unfortunately many of them have negative equity, so they can't sell. But I think with changing of interest rates, there could be a lot more stock coming on the market, because there are going to be some very frightened investors out there. So I think we should just look over the next few weeks, we might see a big change.
Really briefly, try and shoehorn all of this into kind of one sentence as we cycle through them. The rent price movements and the vacancy rates. Just, I know you're kind of covering off on ground we were kind of already mentioning, but it pays to look at the charts just to sort of get another snapshot view. I know you say this is a national snapshot, so again, doesn't quite speak to individual pockets of weakness even versus strength. But Charles, here's the resi price movement.
Yeah, the rent price movement's been an interesting one too. It's been increased this week. It had a few increases over the last few weeks, but only a 0.71% increase over this time last week. The best performer, interesting enough, is Hobart. Hobart's been performing very, very well in the rent market. Again, up 4 weeks in a row, this time plus 0.81%, and the capital city that's had the worst performance over the last few weeks has been Darwin, and that's down again, and this week it's down 0.77%. These charts are all worth watching on a regular basis, and as I keep them over the last 4 to 5 years, every single week, you can see a pattern. You can clearly see a pattern. There is a relationship with vacancy rates, relationship with rents, relationship with homes coming on the market, and definitely a relationship with the clearance rates.
All right, just a brief, you get the final call on the one you want to throw to for the last impression to leave viewers with. Charles, one more chart.
Is that, now I can't see where it's coming, which chart that one is.
Take your pick.
Is that the, oh look, The one that I did focus on before, and the one I like to focus on mostly, is those vacancy rates, because it really tells you a true picture around the countryside. We have an average of 3.71% vacancy rate on an average across the three capital cities of Perth, Sydney and Melbourne. And again, we've always tried to see Perth improving and getting better, and it has been, because it's been in the 10s at some stage. So that market is correcting. So I like to look at that market and say to myself, you know, maybe that's where I should start looking to buy. The prices are low. So the vacancy rates, again, tell you a completely different story to what the listing numbers might tell you, or what the vacancy rates might tell you. So I think above all, vacancy rates, rents, again, clearance rates and listing numbers all add up to one big thing. And if you look very closely across each region, you do get a pattern, and people need to follow those patterns instead of getting caught up in the frenzy.
Charles, sage advice as always. Thank you for your contribution tonight. Value it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
When we come back after the break, Derek Taylor, the sales manager at realestate.com.au, with more, including the rise and inexorable rise of virtual reality coming to your home soon. More in a minute.
There are things in life which people just love. Little things, big things, beautiful moments, and great memories that they only entrust to one. We want precious possessions to be well protected and faithful friends to be handled with the utmost care. We want recipes to be perfect and food to be always fresh. For everything you really love. That's Miele. That's Imabesa.
Power to the guy who travels like a boss, but pays like a backpacker. And to the girl who'll be landing home without landing a big bill. Power to the people switching from telcos that overcharge you to travel to a network that gives you the freedom to travel further. Make the switch to Vodafone's $5 roaming and use your plan just like at home in over 55 countries for only $5 extra a day. Only on Vodafone. Power to you.
You going to take the skins off them?
I couldn't find the peeler.
McCain Rustic Skin on Chips. All we take away is the dirt. Oh, McCain, you've done it again.
Never more ready to fall in love again. Never more ready to fall in love again.
This year, celebrate the season with a picture-perfect artificial Christmas tree from Balsam Hill. Balsam Hill uses our exclusive True Needle technology to replicate natural evergreen foliage in lush detail. This True Needle foliage is modelled after real evergreen branches. Balsam Hill has been featured on internationally acclaimed TV shows and magazines. Visit balsamhill.com.au and view our curated selection of trees to find the perfect tree for you.
Shop our Christmas in July sale at balsamhill.com.au.
Nobody can tell you there's only one song worth singing. They may try and sell you, 'cause it hangs them up to see someone like you. But you gotta make your own kind of music, sing your own special song.
The moon and the stars are back in alignment because Richo is back, and a new segment where I review the week.
I'm not going to put up with this rubbish. This country's better than that. I will call it out. Good on you, Richo.
All of that Wednesday night. Richo.
Welcome back into the show. Great to have your company this week. Joining me tonight, Derek Taylor, sales manager at realestate.com.au. And Derek, welcome back.
Thank you.
This tour that you've now been on, seeing with the Real Estate Institute of New South Wales, different pockets of the state, talking to different, I suppose, market segments and getting some feedback. What's, from a technological perspective, what's been the running theme here?
Yeah, probably the biggest change that I've noticed in terms of technology is around on demand. You know, people are incredibly busy. They want information when they want it, the way they want it, and on the device they want it. The next one is around personalisation. You know, there's so much information out there today. People don't want to be just treated as a commodity. They want it to be personalised. They want to be made to feel special. And probably the third one, which is probably the largest change that I've seen, whether it be in technology or behaviour, is around mobile and mobile devices. And, you know, they're an incredibly powerful device. And you've only got to walk outside to see how people actually interact and engage with mobile devices. Before I came on this show this evening, I was having FaceTime with my kiddies via the mobile phone. I bought my coffee today via my mobile phone, and I was on Facebook and LinkedIn via my mobile phone. So incredibly powerful device, and I think the pace of change is only going to get faster to what it is today. In terms of other impacts on the real estate industry, is that, you know, people can actually now, it's the 24/7 open for inspection. You can go on to realestate.com.au at any time. You can look at properties in your local area. You look out of area, interstate, overseas, internationally and globally. So the world is now a much smaller place, and you're actually able to immerse yourself into the property at a completely new level. Not only can you just look at unlimited photos or unlimited information, you can actually look at now 3D floor plans. You can look at virtual reality or 3D walkthroughs or 3D tours. People then can have a look at financial information through NAB, so look at mortgage information or proximity to schools, public transport. You can really immerse yourself in the data that's available, as well as the local knowledge in terms of buying and selling. You know, what's the market doing? What's the median house price? What's all the sold data? So you can do all that from either the comfort of your own home or a safe environment or on the go via your mobile device.
So let's talk about those two options, because here we have, in one sense, virtual reality, and realestate.com has this app, correct, that enables that to augment and to bring to life in a much richer way what previously was a fairly static scroll through on select photos, which of and in themselves, right, as we know, can be somewhat deceptive at the best of times. The photoshopping, the kind of the shot giving the lie to what really is oftentimes half the that we perceive it to be when we actually arrive at that destination. So virtual reality gives you the ability to really go the next step and see it for what it is from a 360 view. Now, do you need these big goggles as you're often conceiving it to be, or is it a lot more sort of flexible than you'd like to think? So, and I'm a massive fan of virtual reality, and I think the technology that we have today will only continue to evolve, and it will be completely different in 5 years' time. I think the headsets that we have today will also continue to evolve, and they'll be different in 5 years' time. But without doubt, I think the opportunity of being able to inspect a property in the comfort of your own home via a virtual reality tour or inspection with the goggles, and immerse yourself in that property and receive an experience as if you were actually there at that property, I think that's too good a proposition for it not to be successful. In terms of virtual reality, you're right, you do need the virtual reality goggles, and you can get those through Samsung, Oculus, or through Google Daydream, which is where our app is based. Although if you can look on any mobile device, tablet or desktop, and still get a three-dimensional experience, which is a very similar experience, just slightly different from the virtual. And sort of stripping it back to its basics, you know, if you're time poor and you've got, say, half a dozen potential viewings, but only really time for 3 at most, this is going to be a really great way of just streamlining that whole on-the-day open home viewing experience, right? Casting aside, without doubt. And I don't think it will do away with open for inspections, because they're an incredibly important part of the process. But what it will do is it'll save time, it'll develop efficiency. So you've got to look at 2 or 3 properties this weekend. There are different locations in the city. You can, through the experience of a virtual reality walkthrough, decide, well, look, this is a property that we would actually like to investigate further. We'll go to the inspection. Speaking of which, speaking of which, we've saved the best to last. Tom Panos needs no introduction, but Tom, this is where you come into your own. Hit me with it.
Okay, so we're going to talk about a property first?
Absolutely. What is hot this week? What have you got right at the top of your list?
Mawson, and I love Marrickville. I actually spent 15 years of my life living in Marrickville, 69 Edinburgh Road in Marrickville. It is presented by Cleo Rulers. I think the agency's Cobden and Hayson, and that property is going to go to auction on the 15th of July.
Wood-fired pizza oven to boot.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Look at that. Look at that. Extraordinary property. And I've got to tell you, Marrickville now has become a suburb that is very fashionable. Lots of cafes, lots of restaurants, not too far from the city. Price guide of around 1.7. It's going to auction. Beautiful restoration of original features, but you can live today's lifestyle, and it's got rear off-street parking with it, which is a big plus for homes in that part of the world.
All right, now there's another point to this, and it kind of is a bit of a coda to your chat last week with, and that was if you don't have the money up front to pay for marketing, which looks superlative in those frames there, after all, we're talking about 1% potentially of the value, though, that has to be apportioned to that costing. What are your alternatives, Charles? Tom, what are your alternatives at that point in time?
Carson, so many people that are selling are actually cash poor at the time that they're selling, and they're going to be cash rich when the property's sold. So what we've done is at News Corp developed a product called NewsPay. Very much like Harvey Norman, you buy it now and you pay later, and you pay very little for 6 months, only a very small amount. And at the end of the 6 months, you pay for your marketing costs, which if on a $1 million property could estimate to be about, $10,000 based on the average being between 0.75% and 1%. So Carson, it means that, if you're a vendor, you can actually market your property to the widest possible audience because you can't sell a secret, and you know that you can actually pay for it in 6 months. And it's not going to cost you very much at all until your property is sold.
Getting the good oil and the inside goss, Tom Panos never disappoints. Thank you so much as always.
Thank you, Carson.
And to my special guest tonight, the realestate.com.au sales manager, Derek Taylor. Derek, it's been great having you on board. Welcome to the family from your property empire perspective. Come back soon.
Thank you very much, Carson.
All right, thanking you indeed for your company. We look forward to doing it all in 7 days. Do join us then.